Welcome to the Prepper Almanac. Thank you for joining us today. It is deeply appreciated. In today's video, we are going to discuss essential skills that preppers need. And if I give you value in today's video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. Also, check out the link in the description of the video for a $25 restaurant voucher as a thank you for subscribing. Be sure to watch the video to the end because the next video will be a perfect companion to today's video. That next video is titled 12 Skills Preppers Should Teach Their Whole Family. Now let's start today's discussion. We live in a world of convenience, a world where everything is just a click away. But what happens when that world crumbles? When the supermarkets are empty, the power grid is down, and help is nowhere in sight? Our ancestors, they knew how to survive. They were masters of their environments, living off the land and facing challenges head on. But somewhere along the way, we've lost touch with those primal instincts, those essential skills that kept humanity alive for millennia. The truth is, our modern world is fragile. A global geopolitical issue, a financial meltdown, a major natural disaster, or even a complete societal collapse, any one of these could send us spiraling back to a time when knowing how to find food, purify water, or build a fire meant the difference between life and death. That's why I'm here today. To reawaken that survival spirit within you, to equip you with the essential skills that every prepper, every individual, every family needs to master in order to not just survive, but thrive in the face of any challenge. Out in the wild, you quickly learn that relying solely on foraging or hunting leaves you vulnerable. That's where animal husbandry comes in. It's about taking control of your food supply, ensuring a sustainable source of protein and essential nutrients. Raising animals, whether it's chickens for their eggs and meat, goats for their milk, or rabbits for their fast reproduction, provides a level of food security that's crucial in a survival situation. Remember, a varied diet keeps you strong, alert, and ready to face whatever comes your way. But it's not just about sustenance. Animal manure is a valuable resource, enriching the soil for your crops and reducing your reliance on chemical fertilizers. It's about creating a self-sufficient ecosystem where every element works in harmony. So, learn the basics of animal care, from feeding and watering to recognizing signs of illness. A healthy animal means a healthy you, and in a world gone sideways, that's a matter of survival. Now, some folks might think animal husbandry is all about putting food on the table, and while that's a big part of it, it goes beyond that. Think of it as utilizing every resource available to you, just like our ancestors did. Take goats, for example. Not only do they provide milk and meat, but they're also fantastic for land management. Their grazing habits can help control weeds and unwanted vegetation, keeping your land clear and productive. And let's not forget about transportation. In a grid-down scenario, a reliable pack animal like a donkey or a mule can become your lifeline, carrying supplies, firewood, or even helping you relocate to a safer location. Remember, every animal has its own unique strengths and weaknesses. It's your job to understand those traits and utilize them to your advantage, building a resilient and sustainable way of life. We rely on tools every single day, from the knives we use to prepare food to the axes that help us build shelter. But in a survival situation, those tools become more than just conveniences, they become lifelines. Blacksmithing, the ancient art of metalworking, might seem like a lost skill, but trust me, it's a skill set that could save your life. Imagine being able to repair a broken shovel, fashion a new blade for your axe, or even create a simple cooking pot from scratch. Now, I'm not saying you need to become a master swordsmith overnight. Start with the basics. Learn how to build a forge, how to heat and hammer metal, and how to shape it to your will. It's about understanding the properties of metal and how to manipulate it to your advantage. Remember, every time you successfully repair a tool or create something new, you're not just mastering a skill, you're forging your own independence, your own ability to thrive in a world that's lost its way. The beauty of blacksmithing lies not just in its practicality, but also in its versatility. You see, it's not just about fixing broken tools, it's about creating the tools you need to rebuild and adapt. Need to secure your homestead? Fashion sturdy hinges and latches for your doors and windows? Running low on cooking utensils? Forge yourself a set of durable spoons, forks, and even a sturdy cast iron skillet. With each swing of the hammer, you're shaping more than just metal. You're shaping your own destiny. You're taking control of your future and equipping yourself with the tools to not just survive, but to build a new life, a better life, on your own terms. Remember, the skills you learn today, the knowledge you acquire, these are the things that will carry you through the toughest of times. These are the tools of resilience. Shelter is always, of course, non-negotiable in a prepper situation. A sturdy roof over your head can be the difference between weathering a storm and succumbing to the elements. And when it comes to rugged, reliable shelter, nothing beats a log cabin. Now, building one might seem daunting, but trust me, it's achievable with grit and determination. First things first, we need a solid foundation. Forget concrete, we're going primal. Find large, flat stones, these will form the base of your walls. Remember, the weight of the cabin will rest on these, so choose wisely. Lay them out carefully, ensuring they're level and stable. This is about survival, not shoddy workmanship. Next, we need to source our building material, and that will be logs. Look for straight, sturdy trees, preferably ones already felled by nature's hand. You'll need a good axe or saw for this. Tools are your lifeline out here. Now remember, respect the forest. Only take what you need, and never cut down more than necessary. Once you've got your logs, it's time to start stacking. This is where things get physical. You'll need to notch the ends of the logs to fit snugly together. This interlocking system is what gives the cabin its strength. It's like building a giant, life-saving jigsaw puzzle. As the walls rise, so too do your chances of survival. Keep those logs tight, use mud or clay to fill any gaps. This will act as insulation, keeping the elements at bay. Remember, we're building a fortress of solitude here, a bastion against whatever Mother Nature throws our way. Now, a roof's no good without a sturdy frame. We'll need strong branches for rafters laid across the top of the walls. Again, secure them tightly using whatever natural materials you can find. Vines, roots, even strips of bark can be used as binding. Improvisation is key in survival situations. For the roof itself, think layers. Start with a layer of bark laid like shingles overlapping to keep the rain out. Then pile on branches, leaves, anything to provide insulation and waterproofing. Out here, it's all about working with what nature provides. Finally, stand back and admire your handiwork. You've built a shelter, a refuge, a testament to human resilience. It might not be Buckingham Palace, but it's a palace fit for a king, or at least a very resourceful survivor. We rely on animals for sustenance, it's the circle of life. But taking a life is never easy. It's a responsibility that demands respect. We don't take this lightly. In butchering, use every part of the animal, honoring the sacrifice it's made. Before we begin, we need to be prepared. Hygiene is crucial. Clean your tools meticulously. Always remember, a sharp knife is a safe knife. Find a clean, flat surface to work on. We're aiming for quick, humane processing. This is about survival, not suffering. Now, whether it's wild game or livestock, the principles are the same. We need to work quickly and efficiently, minimizing waste. Start by skinning the animal, carefully removing the hide. This can be used for clothing, shelter, a multitude of survival necessities. Remember, waste not, want not. Next, we remove the internal organs, the offal. Some of these, like the liver and heart, are rich in nutrients and can be cooked and eaten. Others we'll dispose of safely, away from our water source. We're respectful stewards of the environment, even in survival situations. With the animal processed, we're left with the primal reward, the meat. But this isn't just about sustenance, it's about resourcefulness. We'll use every scrap. The bones can be boiled down for broth, a nourishing elixir packed with minerals. Tendons can be used for cordage, sinews for sewing. The meat itself needs to be preserved. We can smoke it, dry it, or salt it. These ancient techniques prevent spoilage, allowing us to stretch our resources further. Remember, every ounce counts. We're in a race against hunger, and preparation is our greatest weapon. Butchering isn't for the faint of heart. It's a skill that demands respect, precision, and a deep understanding of anatomy. It's a primal connection to our ancestors, a reminder of our place in the food chain. And in a survival situation, it can be the difference between life and death. Remember, this is about more than just meat. It's about understanding the true cost of survival and embracing the skills that keep us alive. Let's chat about rope now. A length of rope isn't just a tool, it's a lifeline. It can be the difference between scaling a treacherous cliff or being stranded at its base. It can secure your shelter, build traps, even help you start a fire. Mastering the art of knot tying is as crucial as knowing how to find food and water. Nature provides an abundance of materials for cordage. We can use plant fibers, bark strips, even animal sinew. Each has its own unique properties and strengths. Learning to identify and utilize these materials is essential for any survivalist. Take the inner bark of a willow tree, for example. It's surprisingly strong and flexible, perfect for weaving into rope. Or consider the tough, fibrous roots of certain plants, ideal for binding and lashing. Knowledge is power, and knowing your natural resources can mean the difference between thriving and merely surviving. Once you've gathered your materials, it's time to start twisting and braiding. This takes patience and practice. But trust me, the feeling of creating a sturdy length of rope from scratch is incredibly rewarding. It's a skill that connects us to our ancestors, to a time when resourcefulness was a way of life. Now, a rope's only as good as the knot that holds it. We need knots that are strong, reliable, and easy to tie, even in the most challenging conditions. From securing shelters to building traps, each knot has its own unique purpose. The bowline, for example, is a non-slip loop that's essential for rescue situations or securing loads. The square knot is perfect for joining two ropes of equal thickness, while the taut line hitch allows you to adjust tension, ideal for securing tarps or hammocks. Practice these knots until they become second nature. Visualize their uses. Imagine yourself relying on them in a survival situation. Remember, panic impairs judgment, but muscle memory can be a lifesaver. Cordage, ropes, and knots aren't just tools, they're extensions of our ingenuity and resilience. They represent our ability to adapt, overcome, and thrive in the face of adversity. So embrace these skills, master them, and let them empower you to face whatever challenges the wilderness throws your way. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? But survival isn't just about brawn, it's about brains too. Mother Nature is our chemist, providing remedies right under our noses. Knowing your plants can be the difference between a speedy recovery and a nasty turn. We're talking about harnessing the power of plants for healing. Remember, this isn't about ditching modern medicine altogether. This is about utilizing what nature provides to support your health in a pinch. We're talking natural antiseptics, pain relievers, and even remedies for stomach troubles. But a word of caution, misidentifying a plant can be dangerous, even deadly. Always double, even triple check your sources before ingesting anything. Now, let's meet a few of our herbal allies. First up, yarrow. This little beauty is a natural clotting agent. Crush some leaves and apply it to a wound to help stop bleeding. Next we have plantain. Remember those pesky mosquito bites? Plantain leaves can provide some much-needed relief from the itching. And for those times when you've pushed yourself a bit too hard, willow bark acts as a natural pain reliever. It contains salicin, similar to what's in aspirin. Finally, let's not forget about good old ginger. A potent anti-inflammatory, ginger can help settle an upset stomach. Remember, knowledge is power. Familiarize yourself with these plants and their uses, and you'll be well on your way to becoming a true herbalist. We've talked about the healing power of plants, but the wilderness is a double-edged sword. Some plants can nourish and heal, while others can harm, even kill. That's why knowing how to identify plants and trees is absolutely crucial for survival. It's about knowing what to eat, what to avoid, and what can be used for shelter and tools. Take mushrooms, for example. Some are delicious and safe to eat, while others can be deadly poisonous. The difference often comes down to subtle details in appearance. Never, and I mean never, consume any plant or fungi unless you are 100% certain of its identification. Your life could depend on it. So how do we tell friend from foe in the plant world? First, use all your senses. Observe the plant's shape, size, color, and texture. Smell it cautiously. Does it have a distinct aroma? Next, consult your field guide. A good guide is worth its weight in gold. Look for clear, detailed illustrations and descriptions. Pay close attention to the plant's habitat. Where is it growing? What time of year is it? This information can be crucial for accurate identification. Finally, when in doubt, leave it out. It's always better to err on the side of caution when it comes to wild plants. Clothes aren't a fashion statement in a prepper scenario. They're our first line of defense against the elements. But what happens when your trusty gear wears out? Buying new isn't an option. That's why knowing how to make and repair clothes is a vital survival skill. We're talking about going back to basics, using natural materials like animal hides and plant fibers to create clothing and shelter. It's a skill our ancestors relied on for millennia, and trust me, in a survival situation, it can make all the difference. Now let's talk about turning animal hide into wearable garments. First, you'll need to prepare the hide by scraping away any remaining flesh and fat. Then, it's time for the tanning process. This involves treating the hide to prevent it from decomposing and to make it supple. Traditional methods use animal brains or urine, but you can also use plant-based tannins. Once the hide is tanned, it's time to cut and shape it into clothing using a sharp knife or blade. Finally, use sinew or plant fibers to sew the pieces together. Remember, it doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be functional. In the unforgiving wilderness, a good tool can be the difference between life and death. But what happens when your trusty axe snaps or your knife goes blunt? You improvise, using the materials around you. Remember, survival is all about adaptation. We've got to be resourceful, like our ancestors were. They didn't have fancy factories churning out tools. They had to rely on their ingenuity and their knowledge of the land. And that's what we're going to do too. Look at this beauty. A simple stone axe crafted from a sharpened rock and a sturdy branch, bound together with natural fibers. It might not be pretty, but it'll get the job done. Whether it's chopping wood, building shelter, or defending yourself, a well-made tool is worth its weight in gold. And the best part is, the skills you learn making primitive tools will serve you well, no matter what life throws your way. It's about problem-solving, resourcefulness, and a never-give-up attitude. Now, stone isn't the only material at your disposal. Remember, nature provides. Animal bones, for example, can be sharpened into surprisingly effective knives, fish hooks, or even needles for sewing. Take this rib bone, for instance. With a bit of work using a rough rock to grind it down, you can create a surprisingly sharp point. Perfect for cleaning fish, cutting cordage, or even self-defense in a pinch. Remember those fish hooks? Fashioned from the smaller bones, they could be the difference between a good meal and an empty stomach. And with a bit of ingenuity, you can even create awls and needles for repairing clothes or crafting shelter. The key is to never underestimate the potential of what you find around you. With a little ingenuity, bone can be transformed into essential survival tools, helping you stay fed, sheltered, and ready to face whatever challenges come your way. Getting lost is a real danger, and it can happen to anyone. One minute you're following a trail, the next you're disoriented, unsure of which direction to go. Panic sets in, and it's easy to make mistakes. But we don't give in to panic. We overcome it with knowledge and preparation. Before venturing into the wild, it's crucial to learn the basics of navigation. A compass and map are essential tools, but what if you find yourself without them? That's when understanding natural navigation becomes critical. The sun, the moon, the stars, these are your allies in the wild. Learn to read them, to understand their movements and how they relate to direction. The sun, for example, rises roughly in the east and sets in the west. Use this knowledge to get your bearings. And don't forget about the clues nature provides. Pay attention to the direction of flowing water, the growth patterns of moss on trees, even the prevailing wind direction. These subtle signs can guide you back to safety. Navigation isn't just about following a compass needle, it's about observation, about becoming acutely aware of your surroundings. Look for landmarks, natural features that stand out in the landscape. A distinctive rock formation, a lone tree on a hilltop, these can act as reference points. Remember, even when lost, you're not powerless. By staying calm, using your senses, and applying your knowledge of natural navigation, you can find your way back to safety. Take this moss, for example. It thrives in damp, shady environments. Notice how it's thicker on this side of the tree trunk? That tells us north is in this direction. These subtle clues are everywhere, waiting to be deciphered. So, trust your instincts, stay observant, and never give up hope. Remember, the wilderness can be a challenging but ultimately rewarding teacher. It's about respect, awareness, and a willingness to learn from the world around us. We can survive for weeks without food, but only days without water. Staying hydrated is absolutely crucial, especially in a survival situation where you're constantly losing fluids through sweat and exertion. The problem is, finding clean, safe drinking water in the wild can be a real challenge. But fear not, nature provides, even in the most arid environments. The key is knowing where to look and how to collect it. Rainwater is the most obvious source, and collecting it can be as simple as spreading out a tarp or using a large leaf to funnel it into a container. But what if it hasn't rained? Don't despair. Look for signs of moisture in the ground. Digging in areas where vegetation is greener and more abundant can often lead you to a source of groundwater. And remember, even seemingly dry riverbeds can hold hidden reserves of water beneath the surface. Dig down near the outer bend of the riverbed where the water table is likely to be higher. Now, finding water is one thing, but ensuring it's safe to drink is another matter entirely. Never assume water found in the wild is safe to drink without purification. It could be teeming with harmful bacteria, parasites, or even chemicals that could make you seriously ill. That's where your survival skills come in. Boiling is the most reliable method for killing off most harmful microorganisms. Bring the water to a rolling boil for at least 1 minute to make it safe for consumption. If you don't have a way to boil water, you can use a water filter or purification tablets. These are lightweight and easy to pack, making them essential items for any survival kit. Remember, clean water is non-negotiable. It's the lifeblood of survival, and knowing how to find and purify it could be the single most important skill in your arsenal. So stay hydrated, stay sharp, and never underestimate the importance of this precious resource. We rely so heavily on our modern conveniences, those luxuries disappear faster than a water bottle in the desert. Take food preservation, for example. We've become accustomed to stocking our freezers full of meat and vegetables, but when the grid goes down, that freezer becomes about as useful as a chocolate teapot. We need to go back to our roots, to the old ways, when humans relied on ingenuity and resourcefulness to survive. That's why mastering the art of food preservation is critical. It's not just about preventing spoilage, it's about stretching your resources, ensuring you've got sustenance even when times are tough. Think of it as creating a lifeline for your future self, a safety net woven from knowledge and preparedness. Now, we're not just talking about your grandma's jam-making skills, though those are certainly valuable. We're talking about understanding the science behind preserving food, the how and why of stopping bacteria in its tracks. We're talking about techniques like dehydrating, smoking, salting, and fermenting, methods that have kept generations alive long before electricity was a twinkle in our ancestors' eyes. Remember, out here, knowledge is power, and knowing how to preserve your bounty could be the difference between a feast and famine. So, let's dive in and rediscover these ancient techniques, adapt them to our modern prepping needs, and ensure we're never left out in the cold with an empty stomach. Let's start with dehydrating. It's a simple concept, really. By removing moisture from food, we're essentially pulling the rug out from under those pesky microorganisms that want to turn our hard-earned meals into a science experiment. The sun's your best bet for this, though you can improvise with a fire and some ingenuity. Then there's smoking. This age-old technique not only infuses your food with a delicious smoky flavor, but also acts as a natural preservative. The smoke creates an environment that's hostile to bacteria, keeping your meat, fish, and even cheese safe to eat for longer periods. Salting is another powerful tool in our preservation arsenal. Salt draws out moisture, creating an environment where bacteria struggle to survive. It's particularly effective for meat and fish, but it can also be used to preserve vegetables and even create tasty pickles. And let's not forget about fermentation. This ancient method uses beneficial bacteria to transform food, extending its shelf life and often enhancing its nutritional value. Think sauerkraut, kimchi, and yogurt, all prime examples of fermentation's magic. Now, we've talked about filling our bellies, but what about protecting our skin? Out in the wild or in a survival situation, durable clothing is crucial. Tears, rips, and holes can quickly turn a minor inconvenience into a major threat. And that's where the often overlooked skill of sewing comes in. Forget those fancy sewing machines with their computerized gizmos. We're talking about the basics here, the kind of needle and thread skills our ancestors used to craft their own clothes and gear. Trust me, knowing how to repair a torn backpack strap or patch a hole in your tent can be a lifesaver. Think of it like this. Every stitch is an investment in your own resilience. It's about taking control of your equipment, making sure it's up to the challenges ahead. A well-placed seam can mean the difference between staying warm and dry or succumbing to the elements. So ditch the disposable mindset and embrace the power of a needle and thread. Learn to mend your clothes, repair your gear, and become the master of your own destiny, one stitch at a time. Now, sewing isn't just about fixing ripped jeans. It's about resourcefulness, about using what you have to create what you need. Got an old tarp lying around? With a little ingenuity and some basic sewing skills, you can transform it into a makeshift shelter or a waterproof pack cover, and it's not just about practicality either. Sewing can also be a source of comfort and creativity in a survival situation. Fashioning a small pouch to hold precious mementos or creating a simple doll for a child can provide a much-needed morale boost when spirits are low. Remember, survival is as much about mental fortitude as it is about physical skills, and having a creative outlet like sewing can be a powerful tool for maintaining a positive mindset when the going gets tough. So don't underestimate the power of a needle and thread. It's a skill that can serve you in countless ways, from patching up your gear to stitching together a sense of hope in the face of adversity. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? But surviving isn't just about staying alive, it's about staying healthy. Out here in the wild, hygiene can be the difference between a fighting chance and a losing battle. That's where soap comes in. Now, you won't find a supermarket aisle stocked with lavender-scented bars out here. You've got to get primal. We're talking about using natural resources, things like animal fats and wood ash, to create your own soap. Trust me, it's a game changer. Making your own soap isn't just about cleanliness, It's about resourcefulness. It's about taking what nature provides and turning it into something essential for your well-being. Remember, out here, every advantage counts. So don't underestimate the power of a good scrub. It might just be the thing that keeps you going when the going gets tough. Now I know what you're thinking, making soap sounds complicated, but honestly, it's more straightforward than you might think. With a bit of know-how and some elbow grease, you can create your own cleansing agent using simple ingredients. We're talking about animal fats, rendered down and mixed with lye, which you can get from wood ash. It's a process our ancestors have used for centuries, and it's a skill that can serve you well in a pinch. The beauty of soap making is that it connects you to the resourcefulness of those who came before us. It's about understanding the land and utilizing its gifts to improve our lives. And let's be honest, a little lather goes a long way in making you feel human again after days or weeks in the wild. So don't shy away from this essential skill. Embrace it, learn it, and let it empower you on your survival journey. We've tackled shelter, water, and even hygiene, but there's one element that reigns supreme, and that's fire. Fire is more than just warmth. It's a beacon of hope, a source of security, and a tool for survival. The ability to start a fire can make the difference between a warm meal and a hungry night, between dry clothes and hypothermia. It's a skill that demands respect, practice, and a deep understanding of the elements. Remember, fire isn't something you just conjure up. It's a partnership with nature. You need the right tinder, kindling, and fuel, all carefully chosen and prepared. You need the patience to coax the flames to life, and the wisdom to keep them burning strong. So don't underestimate the power of fire. It's a primal force that can be your greatest ally in the wild. Learn to master it, and you'll have conquered one of the most crucial elements of survival. Now there are countless ways to start a fire as a prepper. You've got your classic methods like striking a ferro rod, using a magnifying glass, or even rubbing two sticks together. Each technique has its own nuances, its own challenges, and its own rewards. The key is to find a method that resonates with you, one that you can practice and perfect until it becomes second nature. Because when you're cold, tired, and facing the elements, the last thing you want is to be fumbling with a fire starter. Remember, fire starting isn't just about friction or sparks, it's about perseverance. It's about that unwavering determination to coax life into those embers, to create warmth and light in the face of adversity. So get out there, experiment with different methods, and find what works best for you. Master the art of fire starting, and you'll unlock a world of possibilities in the wild. We've journeyed together through some essential survival skills, each one a building block in your foundation of self-reliance. From the practicalities of shelter and water to the ancient arts of fire starting and soap making, these skills connect us to our ancestors, to the very essence of what it means to be human. In today's world, it's easy to forget the importance of these skills, to rely on modern conveniences and take our comfortable lives for granted. But as a prepper, these skills are more than just knowledge. They're a lifeline. They're the difference between thriving and merely surviving. And you know what? These skills aren't just for the wilderness, they're for life. They teach us resourcefulness, resilience, and a deep respect for the natural world. They empower us to be more self-sufficient, more adaptable, and more prepared for whatever challenges life throws our way. So don't let these skills fade into obscurity. Embrace them, practice them, and pass them on. Now get out there, explore, and never stop learning. Speaking of learning, the next video will build upon today's discussion, and I'll put a link to in the description below, and it will be in the top left-hand corner of the video. That video is titled 12 Skills Preppers Should Teach Their Whole Family. As we wrap up today's video, if you have any questions or if there are any topics that you would like discussed in the future, let us know in the comment section below. We love to get video ideas from the community. Let us know what you think of today's video as well. We always appreciate input. And be sure to like today's video and subscribe to the channel in order to be notified of the next prepper video we release. Reminder, check out the link in the description of the video for a $25 restaurant voucher as a thank you for subscribing. And thanks for swinging by the Prepper Almanac today, it's appreciated.